I hate that music so much.
Oh, it's great. It's
I
like
know you did.
I thought it was really good.
Are
You
y'all
might have to
really-
move the boxes around a little bit because I'm being covered by the timer.
being covered by the timer.
Yeah.
your border is.
Oh no. There we go. The Nate's now covered by the timer.
That's fine. You can leave. I'm good. Just leave me where I
I can
am.
see you. You're not.
No, we don't want. We want to see you, Nate. We do actually like you.
I mean, yes, of course, but he's not covered on our screen. What are you looking at? Are you on your phone?
Oh yeah, I am.
That's why. Yeah, on the production, it's
Oh,
he's good.
you're
You were
taking a
fine
piss
up
out.
there.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
It's just you who can't see it. That's all.
Sorry, my
No,
bad.
it's okay. Hey, my bad. Your American voice is incredible. I mean, you're preparing well because you'll be here tomorrow, dude.
I will be, yeah.
You
So
will be.
in a minute, I need to go to bed because it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I've got to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to the airport.
Yeah, okay. We'll let you go to bed soon. Me and Nate can chitter chatter.
But
Are you gonna drink some coffee or push
no,
this
I'm just gonna
to the side for a minute?
I'm gonna drink tea. Do you not know in the British Empire we drink tea?
That's right. That's right.
Right, this is what kept the British people and the British spirit going during all the wars was tea.
Oh, I'm
not
sure.
Coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, coffee kept us going though.
So
still keeps us
if
going.
you feel the
And
need to
beer
chuck it in the river again or in the harbour, just refrain from it, calm down, take a deep breath, and don't do it.
I'm gonna take a tea bag. I'm gonna dunk it in the Rappahannock right in front of you.
And then you're going to pollute the water and kill all the fish.
Bring a whole box of them and just.
I can't do that because that's littering, but I am now seriously
yeah.
considering just taking a tea bag and dunking it in the Rappahannock and showing it right in front of Darren. He'll be in mid-conversation like, wow, this is amazing to be here at this battlefield. I'm like, dunk?
Look what I have to put up with. It's like a handicap match all the time.
It's not. You're not being teamed up on. It's one person. I'm the only one doing it, I think. Unless everybody just like collectively gets together and puts a tea bag in.
I don't care what people say about you two. I think you're all right.
Thank you.
Over there in the British Empire, they have our one.
Yeah.
Up, I'm sure.
Sorry, the British Empire died after World War II, I think.
Oh.
Anyway.
That was
hey, you said it, not me.
He did. Well, guys, welcome to another episode of Unfiltered Conversations, which have already been rather unfiltered. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry, actually. But we are just kind of gathering tonight for a talk because we have been talking by ourselves and we're like, wait, this is what we do live. Why are we doing this alone? Like, we're one day out from Darren coming to Fredericksburg and us preparing to do our 159th. So we're really excited to bring you guys the plethora of stuff we have planned coming up. So expect to see me and Darren together for the first time in person tomorrow at the pub. We'll go live for a short few minutes just to say we've arrived, everybody's safe, everybody's here, and that we are enjoying our fish and chips and we're ready for the day ahead of us that we have.
That sounds good.
The next day afterwards. So
you will see a couple of lives from me tomorrow as well. Yeah.
I can't wait. And Nate is going to just miraculously catch a flight to Fredericksburg.
Oh, I wish he could.
Randomly, yes. No, I actually have my last comprehensive exam tomorrow before I am ABD. So
okay,
congratulations!
That's big news.
Yeah, thanks.
So, congrats, dude.
Well, let's see. Let's wait until I get through this exam first, and then we'll sort out the rest later.
I think you're going to make it through that exam just fine.
I think you'll be just fine.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So
if I had a gavel in my hand, I would smack it on the table to make it be. In fact, I do have one in the living room if I have to go get it.
You know what? I'm okay.
We can pass on that. We can trust that I would smash the gavel.
We'll pass on that, mate. Yeah.
Thanks, mate.
We don't want to wake anybody up. Weird fetishes.
Or maybe it's just a memento from the time I was on Capitol Hill.
Oh, of course. Yes, sorry.
Yeah, there you go. Thanks.
So anyway, guys, what's going on? What do you want to talk about?
No, can we circle back really quick to the fact that someone has a fetish over a gavel?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
What's that all about?
You did? How did you not catch him say that to me? He said, "I don't care what you have out there in your living room for your fetishes." I'm like, Like, hey, sir, maybe I worked on the hill for a little bit, and by golly, if it's not a freaking memento from the hill.
Well,
But
it's all don't hit
it made
anyone
my
with it.
brain go off on this thing. It's like, people have fetishes for gavels? What the hell do you guys do?
Well, on Capitol Hill, anything is possible, I suppose.
Well, anyways, welcome to the Unfiltered Historian again. We'll take 2.
Yeah, we'll start again. Sorry, guys.
No, we won't. Sorry to continue going.
Well, I actually got some books today to just help with my anxiety for tomorrow. And
the book you got that you were showing us earlier.
Yeah. So
Tim and I actually said we're going to start a book club, and that was the book we're starting with. So that was interesting that you picked that up, actually.
Which one?
The Sheridan in the Valley.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
Sheridan in the Shenandoah.
Yes, that's the one that him and I have.
By Edward Stackpole.
Stackpole.
Yeah. And then I also picked up the Staff Ride Handbook for the Overland Campaign.
Where did you get that?
This was in the Half Price bookstore. So
that's awesime, and that's the one that's written by.
You can access this online, but like I always
it's free, but yeah,
actual books.
I mean, of course, but that's really cool, dude. Like, I actually want to get a copy of that.
Yes, and then Darren recommended The Civil War, The Wars of Three Kingdoms by Trevor Royal. So I got some reading.
What I like about that is the cover on that one. That's got the pikemen on the front. I really like that.
You like the pikemen, huh?
Yeah, that's a cool.
I'm really I'm sorry to disappoint. When you learn about the Battle of Fredericksburg, there aren't going to be any pikemen involved.
No, but I will tell you this. From what I've learned, the Confederacy at the beginning were thinking about using pikes.
Really?
They had a big store in Richmond in a warehouse of pikes. But more on the way, I think it was going to be more like I don't know how they were going to use them, mind you.
You'll have to look into that more and maybe do an episode about that, Darren.
Yeah. Is that? Am I right in saying that though? I'm sure I've seen it somewhere.
I've never heard that. You actually brought that to my attention first. I've never once heard that, so you were going to definitely do some research and talk to us about that.
I mean, there's loads of weird things, isn't there? There's even talk of using elephants.
So I read a landmine
and camels
earlier this year. I think it may have even been last year. Shit, I can't remember when, but it was recently that I read the landmines in the Civil War, and that was a very interesting read because, I mean, you don't really think about the usage of landmines when it comes to Civil War. It's not something that is just like generally thought of, right?
That is a fun topic for me.
It's the infernal device is a very common name for that damn thing, and it's just to like hear some of the creation stories to landmines and seeing some of the names attached to it, the likes of which I'll even drop what's his name, I can't believe I'm forgetting his name right now too, Matthew Fontaine Maury, with the sea mines, and you're looking at mines that are now being deployed in water, and the infernal devices you're seeing in the United States on land bases and the shit that's happening with Sherman. That book was incredible. Like I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I do hope a lot of people still see that. When from a previous episode we did covering that book and my review on it, I ended up like blabbing on for about an hour just about the fascination I had behind like the usage of landmines and the psyche behind it. But I really hope somebody else will pick that up and read it too, because it's a fantastic, interesting look into warfare that we don't generally conceive when it comes to the Civil War. Nate, you're talking about, well, Darren's talking about the pikes. That just kind of like threw me into the same thing. I was like, could you imagine if pikes were actually used to like?
Well, they probably almost have the same distance,
right?
So I'm just reading something that's popped up. So I've quickly Google searched it, and there's a page called Civil War at Smithsonian, and it says the pike. It says pole arms were not widely used, obviously, because of the other weapons, but they were going to be used in the cavalry as lancers, as did the European cavalry going back to Napoleonic sort of era.
Well, you're about to. I mean, that already was.
But it just wouldn't have worked, would it? It wouldn't have worked.
Right. I mean, okay. So with that, you're getting into a debate between, do you use the cavalry for reconnaissance or do you use it as a shock force, right?
Yeah.
Because at this point in time, you still have the Russian Cossacks. They obviously were using it, You have the winged hussars of Poland. They used it well throughout most of their history. Now, of course, Poland, I guess, didn't exist in this time, but they used it, until their country went away, and then it was brought back, and they still briefly used some of that stuff in World War II. But basically, that was the argument that Meade and Sheridan got into. Sheridan believed cavalry was more of a shock force. Meade thought they should be used for reconnaissance. And ultimately, I think Sheridan's unorthodox belief proved more correct than not, especially in the Shenandoah, it would prove more correct, especially when you have guys like Custer who just say, screw it, and charge into, a bunch of fire. But needless to say, if you look at the Appomattox campaign, it's absolutely amazing to see the cavalry move from Petersburg all the way out to Appomattox Courthouse. It's really, really incredible. Don't get me wrong. I think the fact that, the way that they were used well before 1864, I mean, there's a reason why the Confederate cavalry was so effective before then. Of course, you kind of have that turning point there at Brandy Station. And then ultimately there's definitely a kind of pick me up that occurs later, but lances, it would have been interesting to see, but
yeah,
really,
I mean, it says here as well that a guy called Joe Brown, Joseph E. Brown, the governor of Georgia, in February of 1862, he issued a call to the state to manufacture 10,000 pikes.
Wow.
But they never saw any action. They just sat in a warehouse.
They just sat in the entire, That's
because,
interesting.
again, I mean, why would you use something like that when you've got the weaponry you've got?
Last ditch effort.
Yeah, and like you said, Nate, during the American Civil War, cavalry changes it's the way it's used, doesn't it? It's for reconnaissance, really. It's not for battle anymore, is it? Really? I know you'd still have the skirmishes and stuff, but as far as using them on the battlefield, they're not really there anymore, are they?
I mean, at Cedar Creek, they were extremely effective as a shock force. Fisher's Hill, another great example. But the United States was really interesting because in Europe, they're still using the cavalry as a shock force. I mean,
yeah,
the French had it, the Prussians, you have all sorts of different groups that are still using it in that regard. They are a part of the army, but it really before 1864. That, I mean, where do you really see them being used all that much? I mean, you see them used for raids. Of course, we could get into Grierson's raid. We could talk about how effective that was, but ultimately. They were not being used the same way they were using them in Europe, which I think is interesting because even Winfield Scott actually did not think they should be used as shock troops. He thought they should be used as reconnaissance.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, then again, that's another whole topic we have now.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Different weaponry that could have been used or was used in the Civil War. And I know, Daryl knows a lot about that, and he sent me that awesome file today. So I've been looking through that a little bit, especially while I was just having some free time this afternoon. Just a rare thing, by the way. I was enjoying by looking at some of this stuff, and guys, there's some incredible information in this, and I'm excited to pull that. And there's just so much I got to study right now. It's unreal. Like, there's between Civil War and the Titanic, I'm like, it's like tugging at me, man. I'm sorry, Darren. You probably said that word earlier.
That's all right.
It would be funny to use that word.
You snuck that one in there, didn't you?
I did. I had to figure out how I was going to incorporate that into this live stream, and I think I just did. So cool. Got it out early.
You did.
But man,
I liked it. It was a little low blow, that one.
So I have to ask this because it seems like this is going, because I know we were just talking about the cavalry, but I genuinely don't know this, and it never came up when I was out there in Fredericksburg with you.
Okay.
But how were was there cavalry? Any cavalry actions during the Battle of Fredericksburg? I mean, was anything like that going on?
There's a lot going on, and here I'm gonna paste in here because for some reason our chat wasn't working too well. So this is what Noel said over on Facebook here.
Okay.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing, Noel.
And that's something I feel like I should know, considering part of my family, most of my family was Union cavalry. So, anyway, out here in Missouri, I should say.
Out here in Missouri. So the extent of cavalry actions around Fredericksburg that I know of,
yes.
I know a little bit about what's going on in the dog grenade, and I plan to do a live video, but life got in the way there, especially with everything coming up at school and all that fun stuff. But there is a lot, and I hope to revisit that someday once I can actually get out and spend some time on the field and really get a better understanding from being at some of the locations I can be. But I'm not honestly really all that familiar with a lot of the cavalry stuff around here, other than Kelly's Ford and Hartwood, a raid that takes place, some of the stuff that takes place up in Dumfries, little raids like that. Yeah, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot of cavalry patrols. I mean, there's so many that you got Brandy Station down the street too. So there, yes, in those instances, I know a lot about them. But
and Chancellorsville, you get Stoneman.
Stoneman's cavalry raid. You got the 8th Pennsylvania Cavalry harassing
which
troops
gets
over there on
cancelled because
Jackson's
of the
line.
weather.
No,
he gets a lot of criticism, doesn't he? After where it don't get cancelled, but it gets rescheduled.
Right, it gets kind of pushed out, but it's launched initially, and there's a lot of hiccups to the rail line because of
that's it. They were sent to destroy the rail line, weren't they? And the logistics.
Oh,
Head bars keeps killing cavalry.
I guess I could go back and watch, but my apologies. My goodness.
No, did you get the joke?
I do.
There's a meme going
on all over that.
No, yeah. Every time there's a meme that specifically has Ed Bears holding a cat in his hand with a cane, and it says every time someone says cavalry, Ed Bears kills a kitten, and it's just that was.
No, cavalry. Yes,
cavalry. You keep saying
if I mess that up,
do I say it correctly? Cavalry.
Say it again, Darren.
Cavalry.
Yes, you say it right.
Cavalry. That's how you go and eat.
Wait, what?
Yeah, hold on. What?
A carvery. You know where you go to eat. It's like a meat where they carve the meat for you.
A carvery. Oh.
Carvery, yeah.
Is that a word? A carvery?
Yeah. So it's like a restaurant where it's like a buffet, And,
so
and what they do
is
and they cut the meat for you. They carve it, so it's called a carvery.
This is
seriously, I need to educate you.
No, wait, really? Like, you're not messing with me. Like,
no, I'm not messing about. Being serious.
Okay, well,
stop.
Okay, I'm gonna move on.
Hold on. No, we're not. Do you just go down to the carvery? Is it, you want to go get a bite to eat at the carvery?
Yeah, sometimes. So they do a Sunday roast.
Darren, I'm gonna start blaming you if I start pronouncing cavalry.
It's carvery. Pennsylvania.
Well, I'm not surprised. Was it Chatham Mansion?
Chatham.
Some people call it Chatham.
They do call it that. I've heard it a lot.
And it's like, no, it's not Chatham. What are you on about? It's called Chatham. Get it right.
The Earl of Chatham, William Pitt.
You're ruining the English language. Just stop it.
Been ruining it since 1776.
There you go. Cheers. Wouldn't have it any other way.
All right. Tea in the harbor, babies. Let's go.
Wait.
At least you agreed with that.
Guys, so again, when you come to the UK, I'll take you to a carvery.
This was normal. I'm not. We will go to the carvery. I'm very much looking forward to checking that off my bucket list. I just added it today, actually. Just like 10 seconds ago. I'm like, that's okay. Now that this word has been introduced to my language and my repertoire, I'm going to be saying it.
Tyler, by the time I'm finished with you, mate, you're going to have words that nobody's ever heard of, and you'll be able to use them at work and stuff, and they'll be like, "Oh my god, I've never heard that word before."
You said it work.
I'm going to teach you some words. Don't worry.
I'm going to learn bollocks. I know it. I'm going to say that a lot now.
Yeah, bollocks. Yeah.
Bullocks. Is that like garnet?
No.
Yeah. Sort of.
Sort of.
Or freezing me brass monkeys off.
Okay, I asked him earlier. You might find this hysterical too, Nate. I was watching one of those like short videos. And I don't have TikTok or anything, so I watch the YouTube shorts because that's the closest I'll ever get. And this guy wrecks into the back of a car in the UK, and he gets out. He goes, "Hey, you effing sausage!" And I asked Darren, I'm like, "Yo, do you guys call each other sausages?"
No.
Like, that's like the nicest thing you could call somebody when you're
seriously.
angry.
He was like, "No, but what did you tell me that they would say like?"
Well, you would call them the CUNT word.
Oh.
But you wouldn't actually like, call somebody a sausage.
No, I would never call anybody a sausage.
I was hoping you would, because that is awesome. It's like, you're a sausage.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it's not. It's not good at all.
Somebody yelled it. He was like, "You effing sausage!" And
well,
like,
he wasn't English. It was probably Australian or something, maybe. How do you know? No, I don't know. I'm gonna have to go and watch this video now. You have to send me a link.
Send it to you. Dude, I was crying of laughter because of that. Like I don't know why I found that so funny. I've just never heard somebody aggressively call somebody a sausage.
I like your accent when you do it. You've got a very good English accent coming on there.
Thank you. Because I've watched that video so many times and have said that. It's
like, wait, you want a sausage?
No, he doesn't say that. He said he called him an effing sausage. He was like, "You effing sausage."
And maybe he was calling him something else.
No, he said sausage. It was. I don't know why that is so funny to me. Anyways, we're talking history, not sausage.
But yeah, no, sausage is a nice term in this country, you know. You go, "Hello, sausage." You know what I mean? Like when you're greeting someone.
Oh, and that they did that in the movie Paul too. I remember seeing that. He's like, "Don't call me that." He goes, "Morning, sausage."
It's better than calling someone a cow or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a cow.
Yeah. Livestock. Just call someone, "Hey, what's up, handsome livestock?" Like, just...
What?
You said calling someone a cow. It is too much effort. That is true. But if someone's putting that much effort into it, it's better than being called a cow, right?
Yeah, a cow bag or something like that. Yeah.
You just go off the deep end with these insults. Like, it's not even gradual. You just bam, like right on them already.
Yeah, but that's what we use. We use those words. You're getting a history and language lesson here.
Oh my God, we're doing
that's what we use. Cow bag.
That's why, like, it's a lot more fun to watch like the British version of C-SPAN versus the American version, because like the American version is like super boring, super like dull, down to like just I don't know. But like in Britain, it's like they're like just I don't know, personally attacking each other all the time. It's like a drama series. It's great.
It is, yeah.
I need to watch more of this.
You need to watch EastEnders. That'll make you laugh. No, it won't. Honestly.
Okay.
Maybe after I learn what you have to teach me, I will be able to.
You need to watch Spitting Image, because that is hilarious.
Is that puppet thing you sent us?
Yeah, that is hilarious.
Honestly, that gave me nightmares.
I'm not surprised.
What was the mouse that Tim showed you the other day?
Oh, that was Roland the Rat, yeah.
I love the name. Y'all say Roland the Rat.
So in the 1980s, there was a Roland the Rat sat on the morning TV program on the sofa with the presenters, yeah. And he was a bit nutty.
Roland the Rat.
Yeah. And Tim said, "I bet you won't guess who this is." And I went, "Roland the Rat." And he went, "Oh, no, you got it straight away." Yeah, because I grew up in the 80s.
Oh, Nathan, do you want to see my hoodie?
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to see. It says "Back to the 90s" on it. I got it from our little food joint.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, it says "Back to the 90s" instead of "Back to the Future." I was like, that's pretty sick.
I really want to go
back. Got like the American flag.
I want to go back to that place so badly.
Yeah, dude, it was a good meal again tonight.
There was this sweatshirt that I really, really want to get, and it's like the Irish Brigade, and it's like this green sweatshirt, and on the back it like has like the harp and everything, and like the battles they took part in. So it was so cool.
That's
Oh,
awesome.
Tyler,
Yes, sir.
has my T-shirt arrived yet from
It
Civil
has.
War
That's what I
Team?
was trying to tell you. It's at my other house. I got to go grab that.
Oh, cool.
I
But
sound so fancy. I don't own another house. I promise. That's not anything
No.
like that. It's just the place I used to live.
Yeah, we know
Clarify,
you,
yeah, come
the
on,
true
dude.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just got 4 houses on an island. Oh my gosh, no, I don't have.
why would you want a house on an island when you could like live it up like Eisenhower and put your house
Yeah.
on a battlefield?
Exactly.
Because
You've got
preservation,
like
man.
the best location of anybody
Put
that's on
it
this
put it
stream.
on the edge where you know no action took place. Like,
Don't tempt
no.
me. Because I'm totally just gonna have this money to do this. This is great. Yeah.
Like, if I could figure out where Grant's headquarters was on any battlefield, I would make my
Plop it
front
on there.
yard his headquarters.
Would you really?
But his headquarters is always like on other ground that isn't actually owned by the national park. It's like, I don't know, somewhere else.
Got lost.
At least in the Overland campaign.
At least the Overland campaign.
Mm-hmm. City Point, though. City Point is
City
actually
Point would be cool. That would be cool.
Have you actually been to City Point?
I have not actually made it out there yet because.
Twice.
So have they got like a national park there? Like,
yeah,
that sounds good to me.
Well, the last time I went, the person I went with and I didn't actually stop. We did drive around it though.
That's cool.
See it. Yeah, it was cool. I got to see like
that is very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was really tempted to get another book today, and don't worry, there's a connection to this. Don't worry. But there's another book. This Half Price bookstore has like one of the best military history sections I've seen anywhere. But there was a book there that was like the feeding an army on its stomach or something like that. And it was all about military logistics and whatnot. And I'm like, ooh, man, that looks interesting.
I have a book called Confederate Supply that might really interest you, right?
This is the thing. I'm glad you brought that up because the mind boggles, doesn't it, when you think of the logistics behind feeding 120,000 men.
It does.
Yeah. So
and not only feeding them, but supplying them with everything they need.
Yeah, I want to read that very badly.
This is a very good book. Hess makes some pretty powerful statements. He always typically does. But in this, he's basically comparing the logistical supply line that the Union had, something comparable to that of like Prussian armies later on, which is pretty impressive. And that's another thing that I always like to typically talk about when it comes to international history is it seems like, I know in Europe, like they'll typically talk about how like, oh, well, the Germans were able to win, the Franco-Prussian War in like a year or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like the thing that impresses me the most about the American Civil War is like the distances armies had to travel versus that in Europe. Like, I know that, don't get me wrong, it doesn't, downplay the effective role of the Prussian military or anything like that. But that said, I mean, you're talking about apples and oranges when you're talking about warfare in the Americas versus warfare in Europe, because you're talking about wars that are more like east-west geographically, while in the United States you have wars that are north and south, which typically will cover a greater distance. And so, I don't know. It's a great book. Highly recommend it. Check it out if you can. So,
I will. Well, guys, since we're here and it is December 11th, I wanted to shed some light a little bit on what's happening 159 years ago.
Please do.
In Fredericksburg. So on the 13th of December in 2021, Darren and myself are going to be bringing you guys a lot of content on the actual battle. And of course, you're watching, you're seeing me do air quotations. The battle is on the 13th, but there's some significant stuff happening on the 11th. And let's start with painting the picture of what's going on in the early morning hours of the 11th. It's like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and the Union Army are throwing their pontoon bridges or sliding them down some of the steep hills and bluffs of Stafford Heights. Just across the Rappahannock is Fredericksburg, separating the two armies. There are no bridges in place, which is why these bridges are being slung in. The ones that were in place or are in place, I guess you could say, are not passable. They've been destroyed by the armies visiting Fredericksburg multiple times. And the ones that are being put into place now are the pontoons being pushed into the river by the Union engineers. They're in charge of building these. In the early morning hours of December 11th, succeeding 2 o'clock in the morning, the bridges are about halfway done. There's 3 crossings that are set up. The upper pontoon crossing, the middle crossing, and the lower crossing. The upper pontoon is what I'm going to focus on here as we move along, just for my spiel. The Union Army moves to try and take Fredericksburg in the days of the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th. That's really what brings this battle in. We've talked a little bit about what's happening beforehand with the political aspect of Burnside being in command and arriving in Falmouth on the 17th of November, and the reasons that the Union Army didn't cross earlier from things of the river being really unplannable. The river doesn't act on man's plans. It acts on whatever the nature is causing the river to do. So it can be very rapid one day and flood over into the streets of Fredericksburg. It could do a number of things. It could be low. It could be shallow. It's always going to retain its rapids. But it's just not an easy river to guesstimate whether or not it's fordable on this day and whether or not you can bring your troops over. Hence why Burnside wouldn't allow army or even corps from him to cross over. With his division, his grand division plan, he decides to start his way into Fredericksburg once the bridges show up, which, again, just a whole nother catastrophe on its own right with Henry Halleck and Washington Pollock guys. They're just, it's bad. Well, on the 11th, when the bridges are being built, the Confederates under command of William Barksdale are going to watch these bridges get put into place and be charged with holding that town and delaying the Union Army from crossing. Frowning upon the city of Fredericksburg on the heights over there in Stafford are about 100 and almost 200 Union guns pointing into the city. I think the number is somewhere around 180, 183. Well, the cannons we'll revisit in a second, but let's bring our attention back down to the pontoon bridge, where the Union Army is beginning to prepare for their crossing. Of course, the bridge isn't built when the Confederates are going to open fire. They open fire at the sound of 2 signal guns that alert the Confederates to wake up, snuff out their campfires, and load their muskets and aim them at those bridge builders, those Union engineers across the river. So they do, as they're told by the guns that signaled. Again, it's 2 signal guns that really wake up the Confederate forces that are defending Fredericksburg. Very small number of Confederates compared to the Union Army across the river from them, which maxes out at about 120,000. Confederates are roughing around 75,000 troops. And there are only 4 or 5 regiments in the town of Fredericksburg on the 11th. Nonetheless, they open fire on the unarmed engineers, to which there is some small return fire on the other side of the river, ultimately leading to those cannons to open up on the town to try and subdue those Confederates that are firing at them from the banks of the Rappahannock on the Fredericksburg side. A lot of Confederates have the availability to use the houses in Fredericksburg as well, being that some of them are in cellars, some of them are going to be in upper story levels of these clapboard dwellings that are just lining Sophia Street or River Street or Water Street, whatever you want to call that at the time. And the bridge builders across the river, their counterparts are not doing well with this fire that's hitting them. They're being torn to pieces without really anything to fight back with because they're charged with building bridges. For God's sake, they're not out there to fight these men that are across the river, and they're watching this happen too at the same time. People like Perkins, who's out there with the I think it's the 50th New York Engineers, if I'm not mistaken, shot and killed instantly on the bridge. Augustus Perkins, shot through the mouth, I believe. Man who is watching these bridges get built for hours, taken from the top of that hill down to the bottom, and then just in a split second like that, the life snuffed out of him by a rebel bullet. So imagine that on more of a larger scale. We're zeroing into one soldier, but this is what the scene is like at that crossing site. And there's some fire that's taking place on the middle crossing as well, but the lower crossings is looking a little different. And now the city of Fredericksburg is being shelled by the Union Army. Again, I mentioned the number of guns. There's roughly 180 cannon up there. It's a lot of rounds to hit the city. Destruction to Fredericksburg is tremendous, and we see that throughout the day. As the Union Army is now sort of stymied across the river, they can't do much to really get the town unless they get into the town, if you will. And the way that they do this, the method that they take, the approach that they take to get into Fredericksburg is one of the first for United States military history, which I think is really incredible to highlight. Some Michigan boys, it's the 17th Michigan, piled into boats. Now, mind you, these boats that they're piled into are pontoon boats. And in today's day and age, when we hear pontoon boat, we think about the thing you can go and sail on and have a couple brews on and hoop and holler down the lake. And, that's a pontoon boat. But in 1862, a pontoon boat was meant to hold a pontoon bridge into place.
I was actually thinking about the landing ships, like or what are they? The boats that they drove onto like Normandy Beach.
The LCVs or landing craft vehicles.
There you go. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, fair enough. But when I hear pontoon, when I'm not thinking Civil War, I'm thinking of the party boats. That's what I think of. But and maybe others will as well. But in theory, we're not looking at pontoon. We're looking at, again, a shoebox shaped bridge, or a boat that's meant to hold a bridge into place so troops can move across it. Okay, so the idea works. The Union troops, the 17th Michigan, get into the boats and they sail across the Rappahannock River under Confederate fire, and they establish one of the first bridgeheads in United States military history under fire. That riverine crossing is done under fire, and it's successful, and they actually take that part of Fredericksburg. But all hell will still continue to break loose on those Union troops as they move through the streets, because now they're entering the first, if you will, of the Battle of Fredericksburg and military history. Urban warfare. Street by street, house by house, block by block, yard by yard, fence by fence. These troops are battling it out inside homes, private dwellings, alleyways that cause blind fire to the Union troops who don't know where this fire is coming from, and they're falling in wholesale numbers. Michael Redding, a soldier, and I can't remember his name now. This quote comes from Frank O'Reilly's book. He talks about a soldier named Michael Redding who says he'll be back and is found dead later, stabbed, bayoneted, or with stab wounds later on by the Union troops after he falls wounded. And the streets are genuinely soaked with blood during this battle, and this is the first time that you're seeing combat like this take place in the annals of military history, which makes it a very unique battlefield too. We talk about the town fighting at Gettysburg, which it's a very unique thing in itself, but it doesn't touch Fredericksburg. I'm sure it probably had some memories brought up for some of the troops fighting there, thinking about what their comrades or counterparts suffered through during the Battle of Fredericksburg. But to put yourself in the position of having to fight in this type of environment for the first time too, added to what you've seen already, sites like Augustus Perkins being shot dead on the bridge. Just knowing that those troops across the river are going to fire at you at some point adds to the human interest of Fredericksburg. And again, you guys know I try to take history from that level. It's just that's been the captivating part. So I'm sorry it's not so much like military by the numbers. It's more of like a human experience of Fredericksburg.
Mm-hmm.
And we're only still in the morning time. Like, I mean, this is still day one, the 11th of December. Well, the Union Army is able to start slowly working its way through the city of Fredericksburg. Again, street by street, house by house, just clearing it, and we see sites like this in modern day histories like Fallujah and other battles that have taken place that we talk about, those street fightings. And it's all starting from here. You can obviously picture what Fredericksburg looked like after tremendous cannon fire hits it and troops are fighting in the city. And more and more Union troops are being pushed across the river in these boats not meant to carry troops across a river. Barksdale's Mississippians and the few Floridians that served there as well actually hold that Union Army off almost all day. But when the Union captures the town, we have a very grim first. It's the first time the American city has been looted and sacked since the War of 1812. Fredericksburg is torn apart by these occupants, these Union troops. Imagine what they just went through before you point harsh blame to any of them. Imagine what these soldiers went through. And it's not our job to judge them on that. It is the truth that this happened. But we do look at what they went through to maybe understand why they did what they did. It's a hostile town. You went through some very traumatic events. You're probably amped up watching all those cannon blasts into the town. I mean, any self-respecting military historian or anyone that studies history knows that is seen a lot. There's just constant reflection of soldiers saying tremendous or awesome or powerful or beautiful or really weird descriptive words when it comes to an artillery duel or an artillery barrage, or there's always like a beautiful synonym attached to it or a descriptive word that just describes awe. So, you have that playing on their minds, and you have the recent sites of fighting in urban warfare combat playing on your head, and you also have the probably the anger of just being shot and killed on a bridge.
Tyler, I got a question for you.
Sure.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but is it doesn't the United States military still do staff rides around Fredericksburg in discussing urban warfare?
I have seen more staff rides at Chancellorsville than I have at Fredericksburg, believe it or not. But they do still do a lot. I actually, I'm not saying I haven't seen any staff rides at Fredericksburg, because I have for sure. But I've seen more at Chancellorsville. But I do believe the ones I've seen at Fredericksburg absolutely at least brush on the urban warfare. And whether they do it from the sunken road or whether they do it actually out there in the town is beyond me. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, the thing that I really appreciate about the way that you discuss history is you look at it from a very bottom up approach. And typically I don't. I'm someone that looks at everything kind of top down. But I don't know. And this is just something that I've noticed, especially when you describe like these events at Fredericksburg, right? I mean, this like American military experience, especially during the Civil War. I mean, from what it sounds like, there's a lot that at least the public and even historians really tend to emphasize. But there's a lot of parts still missing, or they're not as well remembered. And the fact that you can get across these stories, I think that says a lot about you as a historian, but also
Thank you.
It really brings to light too these important pieces or this nuance that actually adds to the story, instead of taking away from it just by like starting off right when like Meade attacks, breaks through on the sunken road. It's a lot more than that.
There's so much that goes into Fredericksburg. I mean, in every battle, of course, you have that, but that's one thing I noticed when I was giving tours is that people want to understand the story, and it's not. And again, I still study all the military stuff too. It's one of my favorite parts about this field of study. But what strikes me as the sharing point and what I want to share from my research is what the human experience of this war was, because I feel like that is often kind of incorporated, if you will, into tours, but it's not its focus anymore. There's a lot of focus on pointing who is here and who did what, which isn't a bad thing. I like those tours. I go on them and I support them and would give them, but I do see a need also for strictly human stories, because you can mix the two by doing more of a human interest with that military instead of vice versa. And maybe actually give a visualization in someone's head, or maybe even cause that story to be, whether it's understood more, I don't know. And it comes easy too. It's not that the meticulous research behind it is easy. It's being able to tell it after you've looked at it differently. The bottom up, like you said, we have so many people covering the generalship, and I'm thankful for that, because you've given me the time to be able to study the soldier. the man who fought it, the father, the brother, the typical little boo-hoo, he's using that. But I use that because it's real. Those guys need to be studied too.
Right.
We're
Well,
talking
and
about
it
what they
also,
saw at Fredericksburg. These orders caused these men to see this, to feel
Yeah.
this, to experience this. That's how I want to break it down, is like what these orders do.
And that's what we're going to try and get across in our lives, is because I know, Tyler, you've got a lot of reference to some of the common soldier, so we're going to try and get that across in our lives.
I would hope so. I think that's cool that we get to do that. And I've always had an interest in telling their story too. It's what drives me to continue to this day to studies. Their story needs
One
to be
thing that,
told.
can I just bring up one thing? One thing that's always frustrated me about Fredericksburg is you get the armchair general going, "Oh, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they do this?" Well, I mean, I learned the other day that actually the attack on the stone wall wasn't supposed to be the main thrust. It was supposed to be um, the other side, the left Grand Division. That was supposed to be the one that did the damage.
Absolutely.
And in actual fact, the storming of the wall was only supposed to be a feint. And also, I've read an account where Hancock apparently saw cows crossing a ford and said,
Mhm.
"Oh, why can't we cross the ford?" Again, going back to what Tyler said, you can't cross the whole army without their supplies. You just can't do it.
No.
That's it. You can't do it. You can't cut them off. So I'll get fed up with people criticizing these people when they wasn't actually there in the situation.
well, and I think, well, and the cool thing too is, when we're on these battlefields, right? You're looking at it and you're like, that doesn't really seem all that far, especially when we got to the second road, I'm like, oh, this won't, because I was like, I don't think this will take too long to cover. And by the time I got back, I'm like, I'm a little tired. Um,
Yeah.
maybe
Mm.
it's just because I'm not working out all the time, but even with like I remember even going out to Spotsylvania with you. Like I was exhausted.
Oh
And
yeah. After that, the gallery. Oh yeah, it's a hike.
like but those guys were doing stuff like that, all the time. And it's
Yeah.
like you don't really realize what kind of toll
No.
that takes on someone. And
It was a
by the
harsh
way,
life, a harsh life. You think these
right.
guys are away from their family, for years, and not only that, they're marching and marching
Mhm.
all the time. You know,
Yeah.
Well,
And it's
well,
it's not an easy life for them.
I- just a very quick story when Tyler and I were out at the gallery, and
Beautiful
after
time.
we saw the bear, of course, and we're getting out of the woods there, right? It's like
yeah,
I don't know what time it was. I think it was like
5,
like
6 o'clock, something like that. Because it
yeah,
was still
something like
daylight enough to where we had sunlight. Yeah.
right. And so Tyler's like, he's like, oh, do we still have some time? We can go down this other path here. And I'm like, what the hell, Tyler? Like, like,
Oh,
I'm like in
dude,
my head, I'm like, I
we could
am
have gone for
tired.
an
I
we
am
could have gone for
hungry.
hours
Like,
still. But and then again, I do not always consider that people don't just go and do this all day like I do. And I have if I have a full day, I'm like, okay, I walked so many miles through these fields, and I'm just like, where's the next site? And I'm thankful for that. Like, it's not a boastful comment like, how I can do this, but it's something I have been doing for a long time, and just
right. And it's something that I admire. It's just like, it was just
mm,
it's a
like,
lot
holy
though. I
crap,
don't expect everybody to just be like, holy shit, like slow down, dude. Like I'll just beeline. You can text me. I'll just beeline and like there, and I don't mean to just leave. I'll be like, oh shit, there it is. I'm like climbing through brush, like just slowly, nonchalantly, and so
Well,
yeah,
and the cool thing was too is you were very fine with me just being like, I think we should go get some dinner.
yeah. And that's the
But
thing. I'm like, oh, I get it. Like it's a lot
yeah.
of walking, and I'm asking you to walk another like 4 miles with me really quickly. Come stay there, like.
No,
But that's
it
how
was
I was able
fine.
to find these like things like we did with the gallery, because you don't just stay on the trail. Sometimes you got to veer
no,
off
you've got to go off. Yeah, so
and
you're not
just
going
keep
to
Get off
find
going.
that
the
special thing.
beaten path. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But it's just like such a cool experience. And
So
you know,
Nate, what was your experience in the wilderness like, for you actually being there and
I
experiencing that?
at some point I really want to share those videos that I got when I was out there.
Yeah, so you shot some stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, post them, dude.
So
Site's yours.
yeah, I haven't gotten it off my phone onto my computer yet, but
Gotcha.
they but so I went to, because I heard that, oh well, Grant's headquarters actually isn't really Grant's headquarters. It's just kind of like
General area.
a general area, whatever. Yeah. So I got up one morning before I was actually supposed to go see Tyler later that day, and I hiked my way out there. I don't know how long I was out there for, but I went really deep into the woods. I came across actually the Fifth Corps' first set of earthworks. I believe
Mhm.
that they established when they were first coming out into Saunders Field. And then I came across actually, I mean, at some point or another, I started to like kind of veer off and I ended up running into this, like, I don't know, it looked like a fenced off area and like there's a building there. And I don't know, I didn't know who
Just
owns
like,
that or
I'm
whatever,
good.
but it's just very strange, right? Because like that whole time I'm walking out there, I'm just like, holy crap, like this isn't even as like dense as what these guys would have experienced, but this is still really intense. And so eventually I ended up hitting Gordon's flank march, which by the way, I still think that flank attack, like I feel like it's
It was something,
over
man.
exaggerated. I probably need to read more on it, but from what I've read, it seems over exaggerated to me. Because I know they're like, I know even um who led that attack? It was Gordon, right? I think it was Gordon. Yeah. So
Shot
he ended up
Gordon.
writing later. He was like, "Oh, if Early would have supported me, blah blah blah. I could have whipped them. I could have rolled them up. Whatever." I don't know. I mean, he turned in a brigade, one brigade.
Right.
I don't really know how. Like, I think Earl Hess is the one that actually points that out, but he's like, I don't know. I know their supply liners was right there. Like, I get that, but I think it's just really hard to like totally annihilate armies in the field in the
Yeah.
19th century. So I don't know. I feel like it's a bit exaggerated, but that was just me. It was just very, very cool walking back there, and I really enjoyed it. It was a great experience for me. I got
And
pictures.
also walking in those same footsteps,
Yeah, and I
you
got a
know,
lot of pictures of like the
crazy.
breastworks
Yeah.
that were out there. It's really cool. It's really cool.
Well, Darren, do you have any last minute throw-ins for us before we head off here?
Not really. Just that I need to go to bed because
That's what I was saying. I could see it
soon
being
I've
on
got to
like,
get
let's
up,
get him
and
to bed.
I'm so excited. I don't think I'll be able to sleep anyway because it's like Christmas Eve. But
Not far, man. We gotta go
man, I
home
can't believe I'm going to be standing on that ground.
tomorrow.
I know, and I might even have to end up getting you to just like stop on the way to the pub somewhere just to stand somewhere just for the sake of
Salem
it.
Church is on the way.
Salem Church. Let's just stop at Salem Church on the way to the pub and just stand there because I can't wait. I'm
Sounds
so
like a plan to
excited.
me, brother.
But
Well,
there you go.
everybody, you two just stick around for
Yeah,
2 seconds when we close out so I can say goodnight
yeah,
and
cool.
everything. But yeah, you
It,
guys, we
it,
will see you tomorrow live from the pub for a few minutes. We'll be
and again,
having.
guys, I'll do a little video tomorrow just to remind everyone what's going on and a little plug for the
Cool. I
page.
get to wear
So
my cool new Hufflepuff scarf tomorrow too.
yeah, I'm going to the Harry Potter shop for Tyler because he's a Harry
Mm-hmm.
Potter fan. So yeah,
Something from England, Harry Potter, dude. Oh
there we
man,
go.
I am hyped. Everybody,
Even
thank
though
you guys so
even
much.
though it's from the
Yeah,
UK, but it was made in China. But yeah,
it's from the UK. We'll just
there you go.
everybody again.
And
Thank you all so much. Oh,
actually,
good.
Tyler, I've
Oh,
got you some
oh, say
treats, mate.
everybody's name.
I'm bringing over some treats because me
Ooh.
and Tyler can have a full English breakfast on Tuesday
Mm-hmm.
morning. And I'm bringing over some baked beans, some brown sauce. But not only that, I'm bringing over some Cadbury's chocolate, which is manufactured in the US, but Hershey's make it, and it's not the same. It's got lower fat content than the British one. So you're
So
going to
it's
get a
probably
real
not
treat
sweet.
there.
I know. I'm
And
excited.
yeah,
Well, Noel, thank
and
you
we've
for
got some,
watching.
Yeah,
we've got
thanks.
some new. We've got a couple of t-shirts and a couple of hoodies with the logos on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
We're doing cool stuff, man. It's awesome.
And
I like it.
thanks, Noel.
Yeah. Well, thank everybody. Like you guys, you
Yeah,
are
okay.
why
And
we do
Nate,
this.
it's great to talk to you again, mate.
Of course.
Hopefully we
Always
can
great
do a
to talk
World
to
War
you.
Two one day. I really got into that the other week, didn't I? And then Meanie over there stopped the video.
Oh, meanie.
Hey, Darren, we'll talk a lot more. I know
Yeah.
I've been in cahoots with with Tim right now, because him and I can't stop talking about the operations of Grant. So
It's cool. Yeah.
we'll get
Hope you
our own
guys are enjoying those
conversation going
conversations.
about, World War II, World War I, and all that. So
Yeah, we have to do it all. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen. Well, and everybody else, thank you guys so much for watching us tonight. Here's your bloody Christmas music again that we started.
Merry bloody Christmas, everybody.
Y'all have a great evening, and we will see y'all very
happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.